First and foremost, before we get started, I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, and the bonds to those great millstones, while lunch is truth, and also to those elect that scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom, and come back here today with another great, powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So the type D lesson is Atlanta water crisis. So I like to say shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope this way up you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So before we start the D lesson, I have a quick news article here by AP Associated Press. And it reads, it says, water begins to flow again in downtown Atlanta after outage that began Friday. Let's get a little bit more. It says here, it said water pressure was returning to downtown Atlanta and nearby neighborhoods on Sunday after a 2-day water outage shut down businesses and left faucets dry at many homes. A large swath of the city remained under an order to boil water before drinking it. But Mayor Andre Dickens said in a late Saturday news conference that one of the two major water main breaks affecting the city has been repaired. So we seeing right now that, right here, it was a crisis in Atlanta, so that's why, we always say put not off from day to day, and one thing about a lot of people right now thinking that there are a good case. So a lot of people woke up to not being able to take a bath, not being able to drink water, or not being able to cook themselves a meal. So the Lord right now is breaking the staff of the bread. And one thing about it is that, so a lot of people right now is going to be in for a rude awakening, and one thing about it is that your faith is getting ready to be tried. And one thing about it is, hey, the Lord is getting ready to bring forth that judgment in ways that you do not know how. We always tell you that, bad times are coming. Evil time is coming. What is that? Jacob's trouble. We constantly warn you left and right. So we seeing right here in downtown Atlanta, that I think it started Friday, whereby they had 3 major water main breaks. Was it by coincidence? Was it by design? But one thing about it is all through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And also, we're not ignorant of Satan's device. So one thing about it is we know that this is a heavily populated area of what? So-called black people or people of color, And one thing about it is that we already knowing that they're getting ready, to target, the children of Israel. And one thing about it, we're in a spiritual warfare. And a lot of people right now still are not considered, still are going on with their daily life. A lot of people was complaining about the water being off. What are we going to do? We cannot bathe. What I'm going to do about my children? How I'm going to get to work? I cannot go to work without washing my ass. But one thing about what are you going to do when it is off for days, months, or a year? What are you going to do? And one thing about it, if you don't have faith, if you don't, if you're not of the part of the hopeful elect, you will be totally destroyed. And one thing about a lot of people right now, they don't have the fear of the Lord. They don't have faith. And one thing about they don't know what time that we're living in. And one thing about it, that, all hell is getting ready to break loose. In the middle of the Lord, we're constantly warning you, left and right, whether you were here or whether you will for better. So right now, these people woke up to what? All hell breaking loose. A lot of people got displaced. A lot of people got delayed, couldn't go to work. A lot of things, a lot of havoc happened. And one thing about it, we already know if it's no water, we already know that a lot of disease and pestilence sets in because of unsanitary condition. Your hygiene, all those things go down the drain. So Lord have power over over life and death. Also, Lord have power over riches and poverty. So one day that you are up and one day you are down. And one thing about it, it's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So let's read this once again. It said, water began to flow again in downtown Atlanta after outage that began Friday. So these people right now, some of these people still don't have water, and they constantly bitching and complaining. One thing about it, it's time to seek the Lord, because these days are growing more evil and evil. We constantly want perilous times are upon us. You know what I'm saying? That dark perilous time, a time of trouble that we have never seen before. You already know that a lot of people going to starve to death. A lot of people going to die of thirst. Like right now, these people were bitching and complaining for what? Several hours, a couple of days. What are you going to do when Jacob's trouble start? A lot of people going to what? Give up the ghost. So now let's go here. Let's get a quick precept. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 12. And it reads that, for a man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in a evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare or a trap, so are the sons of men snared in a evil time when it falleth suddenly upon them. So that's, a lot of people right now, you don't know what the next day is going to bring. You could be right now, doing good. The next day you could be struggling. You could be in a hardship. And one thing about it is, if the Lord is not dealing with you, your faith is going to be tried. And a lot of people, it's going to have a great vexation of spirit. So let's read this in the NLT, Ecclesiastes chapter 9, in the NLT Blue Letter. And it reads that, people can never predict when hard times might come. Said, like fish in a net or birds in a trap, people are caught by sudden tragedy. So that's exactly what happened. So you can't predict the sign, what the next day is going to bring. That's why the Lord said, live your life day by day, if it's the Lord's will. And one thing about it is, we seeing that this happened, these people was, right now woke up to a tragedy, they was caught up in that evil net and all sorts of calamities, things that happened to, that time of trouble had came. So a lot of people was, had a lot of despair, a lot of people was angry, and one thing about it is, it's only going to get worse and worse. So let's read it again in the NLT. It says here, verse 12 in the NLT, Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 12. And it reads that people can never predict when hard times might come. That's why the Lord said, hey man, putting out all from day to day, time to turn to the Lord while he can be found. He said, like fish in a net or birds in a trap, people are caught by sudden tragedy all of a sudden. When they say peace and safety, total destruction will come upon you. That's how it's going to happen. The Lord said, I will come like a thief in the night. That's why you got to always be watching. You got to always be praying. Meditate day and night, being circumspect, redeem the time wise, because all of a sudden, all hell can break loose. That even net is what? Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. Also what? The implement of that grain of rice shall go into your right hand or your forehead. We're here. We constantly warn you, left and right. The stage is set. Everything is ready to go. And one thing about it, we knowing that the devil is getting ready to come down with great wrath. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is Atlanta Water Crisis. So I have a few short videos, and that video will start the lesson, and I hope that you will get edified.
Good evening. A crisis is unfolding across a major American city right now. Much of Atlanta does not have any water at all, and there is no end in sight. Take a look at this. This is just one of the water mains that burst on Friday. Now, more than 24 hours later, it's still gushing. One major hospital is now diverting most emergency patients and has to transport others to different facilities. The city's aquarium shut down. A major pop star's concert canceled. The mayor late today saying there is no timeline for repairs. George Solis starts us off tonight.
Tonight, a major American city is in crisis as a water outage wreaks havoc across Atlanta.
The water is a valuable, a critical resource, and cities can't function and lives can't function without it. It's absolutely at the top of our list.
The outage sparked by multiple water main breaks that occurred Friday and tonight remain broken. Video showing the rupture sending water gushing onto streets.
People need their water. People got to eat. People got to cook. We got kids. We need the help.
Atlanta's mayor apologizing for the city's initial lack of communication as he addressed setbacks today in repairs of the aging infrastructure.
If you didn't know, a state of emergency has been declared in Atlanta over the past couple days, following 2 water main breaks. But on this scale, it feels nearly impossible unless it's intentional. I don't know. Water mains are sectioned off by gate valves. And changing water pressure, I don't think could cause this. I don't know, something about this seems really off. But then again, we are living in an infrastructural society that is dated back 60 years ago. I mean, our electrical grid in itself in America is old as fuck. So I'm going to be digging a little bit deeper into this because supposedly it's under investigation. The two major breaks occurred at Joseph E. Boone Boulevard and James P. Brawley Drive, and one at 11th Street Northeast and West Peachtree Street Northeast. Supposedly the break at Joseph E. Boone Boulevard and James P. Brawley Drive has been fixed, and that the Department of Watershed Management is building back pressure in the system so that those affected by the outage should be seeing their water restored now or soon, with the city expecting to have 100 pallets of water delivered later this evening. Authorities are waiting for a Part 2 arrive to fix the second main break, though, and the timeline to fix the break remains uncertain, expecting up to weeks. And just this morning on Sunday, the city distributed water at 2 city fire stations, limiting cases to 1 per resident amid ongoing water issues. The disruption also prompted the city's Emory University Hospital Midtown to transfer dialysis patients to other hospitals Saturday. And there is a boil water advisory that's still in effect. And the issues prompted the closure of tourist attractions and the rescheduling of events, including Megan Thee Stallion concerts Friday and Saturday. The incident also left many without water or with inadequate water pressure. And the Georgia Aquarium and the World of Coca-Cola are expected to stay closed. And as you can see, Atlanta United, the city soccer team, said it planned to play its match against Charlotte FC on Sunday, that there would be limited food and beverage options due to the city's boil water advisory. Officials say a decaying pipe that collapsed due to water pressure was the main cause of the break downtown.
So we seeing right now, that, they already told you about there will be cyber attacks, also what? Infrastructure attack, attacking your infrastructure, your water, your internet, your power grid. So, it could had been a attack. One thing about it is that, we constantly foreseeing the evil. These things going to constantly pick up left and right. Was it by coincidence or was it by design? It was all by design of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. So let's start the day lesson once again. So they already been warning you left and right about terror attacks, cyber attacks, infrastructure attacks, our financial system. So these things is constantly picking up. I start today's lesson in Ezekiel. Let's go here to Ezekiel chapter 4. Ezekiel chapter 4, starting Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 16, if I'm not mistaken. Ezekiel chapter 4, and we'll start up here at verse 16. And it reads, and moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment. Verse 17 said that they may want bread and water and be astonished one to another and consume away for their iniquity. So one thing about it is that, we see it right here. The Lord is what? Breaking the staff of bread, what? Your livelihood, your food, your water, your stability, your everyday life. It's changed overnight. And one thing about it, we constantly warning you left and right, these things are going to come upon you. One thing about what are you going to do when you don't have any water for several days? What are you going to do when you haven't eaten it in several days? What are you going to do? That famine is coming. Also famine of the word is also fast approaching. And we're constantly warning you left and right. A lot of people are going to be in dismay. We seeing it. Let's read it in NLT. Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 16 said, then he told me, son of man, said, I will make food very scarce in Jerusalem. Say it will be weighed out and said with great care and eaten fearfully. Said the water will be rationed out drop by drop, and the people will drink it with dismay. So a lot of right now people, a lot of people was constantly in dismay. A lot of people was had a lot of uncertainty. Hey, where are we going to get water? Are they going to help us? How long is going to be up? What I'm saying? One thing about it, the Lord is breaking the staff of the bread. And as verse 17 in NLT, Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 17 in NLT. And it says that lacking food and water, said people will look at one another in terror and they will waste away under their punishment. So the Lord already said, first my judgment will start at the house of Israel. So right now, a lot of people are eating good right now in the house of myrrh. They were talking about this Megan Thee Stallion concert, that wicked winch. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, there wasn't even, you wasn't even thinking about, oh, the water's gonna be cut off. One thing about it, everything got shut down. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, the Lord have a way of getting your attention. And one thing about it, you still thinking that this is a game. And one thing about it, you already knowing that water is what? A life force. And one thing about it, if you don't have water, you can pretty much say that, everything is getting ready to what? To die. You know what I'm saying? You got to have water. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it is that seeing that these people right now was dismay, they was very surprised. And one thing about things is going to pick up, they got caught up in that evil net all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? And see, that's what we're constantly warning you left and right. It's going to come when you're unaware. This is the quiet before the storm. And one thing about it, the Lord is constantly bringing left and right. These things are constantly picking up, and we're constantly warning you. So now let's go here to, let's go here to Second Ezra. Let's go here to Second Ezra chapter. No, let's get one more out of here. Let's go to Proverbs. Let's get a quick precept. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 24. Proverbs chapter 24 and verse, I think it's 7. Yes. And right here it says, wisdom is Salakia. This ain't what I want. It's what I want. It's Proverbs 10. Salakia. Proverbs 24 and verse 10. And it reads, it said, if thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. Let's read it in NLT. It said, if you fail under pressure, your strength is too small. So one thing about it is that, a lot of people is going to be losing it, in the day of calamity, in the day of trouble. And then when that strength, we're going into that strength, it means that your faith is small. And a lot of people don't have faith. Faith and work hand in hand. Also, it is impossible to please Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua if you do not have faith. And one thing about it, that's the main ingredient. You got to believe in things that you have not seen, but yet you believe. And one thing about it, that is the true believers of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. The two-thirds, they only believe what they can see, what they can feel, you know what I'm saying? What they can enjoy, living from day to day, not thinking what will happen tomorrow or what will happen to them. They thinking that everything will be all right. And one thing about it, we seeing right here, a lot of people will faint in the day of adversity because what? Their strength was small. So let's read this once again. Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 10, it said, if thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. So you seen that a lot of people were constantly complaining. A lot of people, was on the edge. A lot of people, they was when are they gonna get it back up? Why is this happening? Already crying. Well, what are you going to do when Jacob's trouble starts? What are you gonna do when the devil come down with great wrath? What are you gonna do when the enemy come in like a flood? We already know what's gonna happen. When you go to 2 Ezra chapter 5 and verse 1, many shall be taken and a great number. This is just the beginning. So let's go here. The beginning of sorrow. Let's go here to 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 18. And it reads, at the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? So one thing about it is, hey, that's what's coming. We're at the beginning of sorrow. We're in the transition of power. Also, the beginning of famine. Starvation. We constantly warn you left and right, the beginning of war. World War III has begun, and it's getting ready to pick up. It's getting ready to spill over right here in America, in our own backyard. Civil unrest, civil war. We're constantly warning you about all these different things. The beginning of evils. That is a pure example of beginning of evils. A ill time. It's a troubling time, a perilous time. That's what we're constantly warning you about. A lack of bread and in great tribulation. It's right upon us right now. And a lot of people are still scoffing and mocking. but all the games about to be over. Let's read this once again. 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 18 said, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And one thing about what shall you do? You seen what happened right there in a lot of people was bugged out of their damn mind. You know, all the Lord got to add is a little pressure. But when the Lord bring all the pressure, you're getting ready to die. We constantly warn you left and right. You're very weak. You're effeminate. And one thing about it, you're afraid. And one thing about it, the Lord is getting rid of that weak spirit. That's why the Lord said, let go of these martyr thoughts. You know, that's why the Lord said, come out of here, my people. But a lot of our people right now, you know, they love it here, but they're getting ready to die here. Verse 19 said, behold, famine, plagues, tribulation, and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So right now you're seeing that these scourges constantly popping up all over the place. They're sent for what? For amendment. You know, amend your way. You know what I'm saying? Get your house in order. You know what I'm saying? Get your mind right. Gird up your loins. You know what I'm saying? Let go of the martyr thought. That's what's wrong with our people. They love the house of murder. They don't want to be in a house of mourning. They don't want to be suffering at all. Let the good old time roll. But one thing about it, it's getting ready to come to an end. You're in for a rude awakening. Verse 20 said, but for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourge. They want what mindful of what just happened. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, you know, they get their water back on it. They soon forget. Oh, I'm glad they got it back on. You know what I'm saying? I was getting ready to sue these people. You know, they're ungrateful. You know what I'm saying? Unfaithful. All the unfaithfulness shall die in the unfaithful. That's what it said in 2 Ezra chapter 15. So one thing about it, that, you know what I'm saying? Lord is getting ready to get rid of this weak nature. Lord's getting ready to get rid of all this wickedness, you know, all this unbelief, you know what I'm saying, all this gross darkness. Lord's getting ready to put an end to this nightmare. So verse 21 said, behold, victuals shall be good and cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be good case, and even then shall evil grow. Say upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So that's what we're seeing right now. It's constantly growing. It's constantly escalating. You know, like a domino effect. Every day it's constantly intensify. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we seeing that we're here, man. All hell is getting ready to break loose. You still thinking that you're a good case, but you're in for a rude awakening. You get ready to wake up to a nightmare. Verse 22 said, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So one thing about it, many shall perish of the famine. You know what I'm saying? Lack of water, lack of food, lack of resource. You know what I'm saying? Lack of electricity, communication. You know, a lot of things are getting ready to happen. Your faith is going to have to be built up. Everyone on the planet is getting ready to be tried. It's getting ready to be a global event. It is called Jacob's trouble. So now let's go here to Jeremiah. Let's get that. That's the spirit. Let's go here. Jeremiah chapter, we get this one, we get one more. Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30. And we'll start up at verse 6. And it reads, say, ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travail with child. So wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. So one thing about it, they got a little touch of that. You know, a lot of people was travailing like a woman with child. But one thing about it, when the water and the lights and the food go, you gonna give up the ghost. We're very close to this time. Verse 7 said, at last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It's even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Who shall be saved out of what? The elect, the true believers of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, that 1/3 remnant that the Lord's going to bring through that fire. And one thing about it, we cannot wait. You know what I'm saying? The Lord's getting ready to show up with great glory and great power. And one thing about it, we're asking the Lord, how long, oh Lord? We are ready to get out of here. We cannot wait. Jacob's troubles at the door. You know what I'm saying? The implement of the RFD microchip. You know what I'm saying? It is at the door. Also, this great economic collapse. The end of the dollar is the end of America. And one thing about it, it is time to seek the Lord while he can be found. So let's get one more and we'll close out. Let's go here to Sirach chapter 5 We'll close out here. Sirach chapter 5 and verse 7. Sirach chapter 5 and verse 7. It said, make no terror to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. So a lot of people are putting off from day to day. A lot of people are delaying. A lot of people are not considering. A lot of people are not redeeming the time white. A lot of people are not walking circumspect. And one thing about it, a lot of people are still in unbelief. Don't have the faith. And one thing about it, the Lord is constantly bringing all these calamities all around the world simultaneously. And one thing about it, you're going to get caught up in that evil net. And one thing about it, and you will perish in the day of vengeance. You know what I'm saying? Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, the Lord is getting ready to destroy this place. And also including you. You're going to be in that lake of fire. We constantly warn you left and right. It is here. It is at the door. Verse 8, it says, set not thy heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit thee in the day of calamity. And one thing about it, that's what we constantly warn you left, right? A lot of people still thinking everything is all right. A lot of people saying, hey, I'm a good case. I have resources. You know what I'm saying? I have a great bank account. But one thing about it is this. We're going to find out. A lot of people get ready to get their mind right in Jacob's trouble. The Lord is going to bring it, whether you believe it or not. The Lord already told us that, he come not to bring peace, but a sword. But a lot of people think the Lord loves everyone, that everyone can be saved. Well, you're getting ready to find out in Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble is at the door. That hour of temptation, a time of trouble that you have never seen before. But the Lord said, for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is Atlanta Water Crisis. So I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rikakwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom.